So one other thing we can do after we've checked all the codes to make sure those make sense is we can set the 0 on our z-axis some distance above the surface. Here I've got z set to 1 inch, which is high enough to clear everything, and we can essentially machine some air. I'll just run the program, let it run through the whole process, and make sure that it, it stays over my workpiece, make sure it doesn't go down far enough that it would hit my vise, things like that, and just make sure there aren't any glitches while I'm up at a safe distance away from my work. So let's... And I see one mistake already because this particular script didn't set the spindle speed. I'm running a different wizard here. So the spindle's turned off, so I need to change the G-code to turn the spindle on at the desired speed. But we'll let it run here. I can fix that. And it's running along at a reasonable position. I'm looking at my height. I'm at a good depth, so I can feel a little bit comfortable that it's going to work here. And I'll fix that spindle speed and a couple other little things, and we'll try it again. We'll go back to the program you just saw where we're going to machine the pocket. So at this point, safety glasses on. Here they are. I knew I had some somewhere. I'll put the front cover in here. And at this point, there's very little reason to be reaching inside here other than to set up the coolant. I'll point it about at the base of that tool. Okay, so we're set up, and now before we do anything, we stop and think, do I have the x-axis zeroed? I do. Do I have the y-axis zeroed? Do I have the z-axis zeroed? Did I forget anything? Is the spindle tight? Kind of run through your mental checklist. Is my work area clear? Am I set on automatic control? No, I'm not. I'm on manual, so that has to be on automatic. This key has to be on. Coolant is on automatic. And you just kind of run through the process in your head. Is the tool likely to crash into anything? I think we're good. So I'm going to hit cycle start. And the first thing to do is asking for the tool change. I've already got the tool I want. So I hit cycle start again. And it should start up the spindle, move to 1/10 of an inch above, and move to our center point, turn the coolant on, and now it's doing that slow feed into the surface and machining out our pocket. And it's done. Okay? Just a couple things left. One is obviously to remove the part from our vise. I'm going to move the spindle up out of the way a bit. And we can remove our part, removing the tool from the tool tray, loosening it up and putting it back in the tool tray and on my precision ground surface. And there's the pocket we just milled. It overlaps this pocket because I was playing with this earlier, but that's what we get. Now, one last thing, and probably the most important step, two important steps. These get put away. They don't get left laying out. If we leave them laying out, they'll get misplaced. They go back in the appropriate box. And the other thing is we clean up our mess, okay? This isn't too bad. I want you to clean up the vise, clean up the surface, get most of the chips out of here. We'll take the shop vac when things dry off a little bit, vacuum it out. And one thing I want to get you to bring the camera around. And one thing about the cleanup that's really easy to overlook are these bellows back here. All of the chips that come off and get washed off down here kind of accumulate in there. And once these fill up, this is pretty tough material, but once it's filled up, it can't really compress. So if we try to move this all the way back, we got problems. So, you can get back here with a shop vac, or even just use your finger carefully. These chips can be sharp. And make sure these bellows are clean, okay? Because if we just left them, eventually they'd get jammed up and tear. So make sure they're reasonably clean. You don't need to shop vac when they're full of water like this, but get it cleaned up, and this can be scooped up and thrown away. Okay? And I think that's all I really need. Speeds and feeds, we mentioned that we set the speeds and set the feeds in a couple places. Those are things that you look up in machinery handbooks or other things, or you ask an instructor, you ask a machinist, and we'll work through it, because the speeds that we need depend on the speed of the spindle. The speed of the spindle depends on the tool type, the type of material, things like that. There's a specified cutting speeds. So we'll walk you through that process as necessary. I'm not going to try and cover it in this video. And I think that's everything I needed to talk to you. I hope this was helpful. Again, just because you saw this video doesn't mean you're in a good position to jump in and start making parts. We'll work with you the first few times, make sure you're competent and capable on the machine. And of course, remember to use this. That's probably the most important thing. Okay? Thank you, and catch you next time. Bye.